Kakadosh Boker Tov, we're going to be continuing with, this is Daf Samechei Amud Aleph, 65A1. However, we're just going to start on the last line on 64B, right? On Samech Daled Amud Bet on the bottom where it says, Amar Rav Sheshet, Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. It says Rav Sheshet in the name of Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah, Yachol ani liftor et kol ha'olam kulo min adin. Yom shecharav bet hamikdashvad achshav. So the way that we start today's daf was a continuation of what we said yesterday. We said that a person he could have come and he could have exempted the entire world from justice, from harsh judgment, right? He says, from the day that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed until now. Shneimar, it says in the pasuk, Lachen shinina zot aniyahu shchira b'lo yinayin, which means that the person is going to come and going to be like half drunk or whatever it is. So therefore, how are you going to take them into consideration about their sins? So therefore, if Bnei Yisrael, because we're suffering so much in the exile, so how are we going to be considered taking into account our sins? We're drunk, we're drunkards, right? Well, you're going to start taking them into account. So says the Gemara, Meitvei, we're going to ask a question. Shikor, mikho mekach, unkaro memkar. Right? What happens right now, right, to do with a shikor? A shikor is not a shoteh, meaning a person that's drunk, he's not considered right now like a person that's not 100% there. So therefore, mikho mekach, if he sells something, right, for example, if he's going to purchase something, it's a good purchase. If he's going to sell something, it's a good steal. If he doesn't have it, which he's obligated to death penalty, they kill him, right? Malkut, if he does something which he's obligated to malkut, they give him lashes. The general rule is, he's like a normal person for everything. The only difference is that he's patur min tefillah. So what are you telling me now that is it to say that you're going to be exempt? I don't understand you, right? And by the way, you should know they actually speak about this to do with Ilchot Purim. If you have a person that got drunk on Purim, he started damaging property, right? That Rav Ovadia, everyone brings it down, that he's still obligated to pay. You're not going to now say, listen, I was drunk, right? So what? So you're drunk, you're allowed to, under influence, right? How do you call it? DIYs? I forgot. DIYs, yeah. Drinking, right? Driving under influence, whatever. What? Or just because you're going to become exempt? Oh, no, I'm exempt from everything. What? No. You get every single punishment there is. So what does it mean that he comes and he says that, if we were drunk, so we would have been exempt from everything? What are you talking about? Right? Even if we're drunk, we're still obligated in everything. So, ma yicholni liftor de kamar nami min adin tefillah, which means we're not talking about that he says that if I could have come and I would have exempted the entire world from midat adin, which means from the time that the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed until now, it doesn't mean from justice, because it's incorrect. Justice, you are obligated in justice. You do something wrong, you sold something, your sales are good sales, they're all valid, everything is good. What's the thing? Mitzad tefillah. Mitzad the din of tefillah, you would have been exempted, right? But not on every other type of a sin. Amar Rabbi Chanina, says Chanina, Lo shanu ela shelo higia leshichruto shel Lot. However, though, this is also only if you didn't get to the shichrut of Lot. Aval higia leshichruto shel Lot, but if you went to a shichruto shel Lot, which means you're completely a goner, you don't understand nothing that's going on, then you are exempt from everything. Why? Because you're like a shoteh, right? You're 100% like a shoteh. That means imagine a person comes and he starts drinking and drinking and drinking. The guy's gone. You understand?
The guy's problem. He voluntarily did it. That's the way. If you voluntarily drink, then you kill your friend.
You're right, 100%. However, though, but if you didn't do that, then you're not going to be obligated. It's true. We have actually a question. I was going to ask Baba Chaki. He just joined us. Yeah. When a person comes and he gets drunk to a point that he starts putting on his pajamas in the synagogue, what is that considered? Is that considered shichruto shel Lot or not? What do you say, Baba Chaki?
What is shichruto?
Shichruto shel Lot means that he got so drunk like Lot. Remember, Lot got so drunk.
Like Lot. Yeah. Okay,
like Lot, that he had relations with his daughters and he didn't even know. He didn't know what was going on. He was completely gone.
But twice.
And not once, but twice. Yeah. So the question is, if somebody comes and he gets to such a fashion, a state, is that considered that he got so drunk that he's completely gone or not? That's the question that we have. But anyway, okay.
You know, the first night that he was framing.
No, he said that the Torah says that he didn't know the first time. The question is the second time around, and that's what Richard was saying. If you still get drunk the second time around, now you have to be.
But he didn't know.
No, but afterwards he did know. Lo yada b'shichva uvkuma. Lo yada b'shichva, but b'kuma he did know. So why did he do it again? Which means that he didn't care. So that was the problem. You understand? So Amar Rabbi Chanina, says Rabbi Chanina, Kol HaMefik Magen B'Shat Gava, anybody that's going to be Ma'avir Ma'alav Tfilah, which means that he's not going to pray, right? He's not going to pray. What does this mean? Mafik, Shalke Pasuk Ma'avir. Okay, that means he didn't pray. Here it says Magen because of the protection, which is Magen Avraham. B'Shat Gava, which means during the time of Shichrut, that because he was all haughty because of his, wine. So Grim v'chotmin tzarot ba'ado. Min hashamayim, they're going to come, right? And they're going to take away tzarot, that he's not going to have any types of suffering. So it actually comes out that if a person is going to come and he's still going to be, he's not going to pray during the time of becoming haughty, which means during the time when he's drinking wine, because that's when a person's haughty. So then they're going to take away from him sufferings. Okay, Shneimar, but it says in Pasuk, Gava fike maginim, shikor ma'avim alav tfilav sagur chotam tsar. So it's going to stop different types of sufferings from coming upon them. Okay, fine. My mashma dahi afik lishna davuro. Usually afik means to go out. How do you know that this word afike maginim means, right, davure, that means that he's not doing it? Which means my friends, they went and they rebelled against me. Just like this nachal, this like a river, right, this stream, which was cruel, that comes and starts putting all the, during the summer it becomes dry, but during the winter it comes and it puts all the snow all over the place, right, or the rain all over the place, okay?
And Job's friends left him dry.
Yeah, they left him dry because they rebelled against him, right? That's what they always say. How do you know who your friends are at the time of your need? Understand? When everyone's on the top, everyone's your friends, and they're all your good buddies.
That's the story of only Torah mitzvahs take us to the world.
Very good, 100%. Yeah. So Rabbi Yochanan says, "Kol she'eno mafik itma." We're talking about was that somebody that is not mafik, right? Then, which means that somebody is not going to come and is going to reveal it during the time of shichruto, which means right then it's going to happen. How do we know that here mafik means to reveal? Meaning before the word mafik meant to pass over, which means you're not going to do it. Here it means to reveal. How do we know that it means to reveal? Which means that here it's something which is going to become revealed. Galu is galui, to become revealed. So therefore here the words of they're going to see. Afikemai means something which is revealed. So here it means that somebody that's not going to be mafik magem b'shat gava, right? Which means that he's not going to be megalim v'tfilato. But again, it's the same concept that he's not praying during the time when he's drunk, but it's a different connotation of the words.
Understand the difference between the two sheets.
No, it's the exact same in essence. It's just how do you translate the word? Do you translate the word that it's a lashon of revealing, or do you translate the word as a connotation of that you didn't do it? Okay, michti. So says the Gemara, just like what Richard wanted to say. At the end of the day, you could say the exact same two drashot. So maybe now, what's the difference? At the end of the day, it's the same nafka, meaning it's the same outcome. The outcome is when you're drunk, do not pray. And if you don't pray when you're drunk, you won't have suffering. But now, what do I care now? What connotation does the word mean? Right? That's what the Gemara is asking. My benayu. Answers the Gemara, Ika benayu. The difference between them is the Rav Sheshat. Rav Sheshat, why? Right? The Rav Sheshat masar shenta l'shameh. Rav Sheshat used to give his sleep to his shamash, which means, right, they used to tell him, let me sleep for a little bit and wake me up. Why? Because he didn't want that he should wake up on his own, right? And then he's not going to pray. So more...
The other way around, if you wake up on your own, it's better. Well, that's the next sheet. But right now, if you're interrupted, he held that's okay.
Exactly, but he didn't want to stay sleeping. So he purposely gave to Shamash to wake him up, because if not, maybe he's not gonna be able to pray. So what happened? So more Rav Sheshat. Rabbi Yochanan, he holds like Rav Sheshat, which the fact that when a person goes to sleep, right, that actually comes and takes away the effect of the wine. Even if a person cannot wake up on his own, but they stopped him from sleeping. And therefore he says that only the shikor is imanami litpalel, but he didn't lose it completely. So that's like Rav Sheshat. More idle the Rav Sheshat, sorry, Rav Chanina, he doesn't know like Rav Sheshat, because according to him, the wine has to go out completely, which means that you're not allowed to pray until you wake up on your own accord, right? Even if the time of tefillah is going to pass, doesn't matter. So that's the machloka between them, which means that are you allowed to set someone like an alarm? But once upon a time, there was no such thing as an alarm, so they used to get a human being as an alarm. So the human being was your alarm. Are you allowed to do that in order that afterwards they're going to come to wake you up? Are you allowed to do that or not? Okay, capisce until here? Fine. Amar Rav Chia Barashi, Amar Rav. Says Rav Chia Barashi, name of Rav. Kol she'en dato miyushevet alav, alit palel. Anybody that his mindset is not miyushav on him, he shouldn't pray. Right? Why? Because he cannot have kavanah, he cannot have concentration. So if right now a person cannot concentrate, he shouldn't pray right now. It says in Pasuk, Basar al yoreh, which somebody that's found in suffering, he shouldn't be posek halacha. Why? Because he can't concentrate properly. So simlacha, he shouldn't pray. Rabbi Chanina b'yom hadiratach lo matzle. Rabbi Chanina, on the day that he got upset, he wouldn't pray. So imagine, he got so angry. He didn't pray. Why? Because again, he couldn't concentrate. His blood was bubbling, so he wasn't able to concentrate.
Moroccan.
Yeah? Yeah. There's Moroccan, Tunisian, Algerian, they're all the same blood. All hot-blooded countries. Yeah? Amar, so he said, Batzal al right? Why? The same thing. That means not only, just like in a person that's suffering, he shouldn't paskin, so too he shouldn't pray. Morukva b'yom deshuta. Revukva, when the southern wind will come and start blowing, very strong, he wouldn't go to sit in the bedin. Why? Because he felt that he didn't have a good yeshuva das. So even in the wind, imagine what it was. Once upon a time, they were so connected to the nature that even if the wind would be a strong wind in the south, nowadays you're going to tell me strong wind from the south, from the north, east, west. You have no idea. You're inside 24/7. You're either in your car or in your house, right, or in a building, right? Well, you're completely detached from it. Okay? Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Hilchata bayat siluta kiyoma disena. Halacha psuka, you need sliluta dat. You need a very clear mind, just like a beautiful day where it's blowing on the northern wind, which means a good temperature. That's why, if you remember, we mentioned in Yichot Sukkah that if you're learning very, very well, right, and you can't be in the sukkah because you can't concentrate properly, you're allowed to learn even lechatchila inside of the Bet Midrash. Why? Because at the end of the day, that's halacha. Halacha is that you need proper concentration, and that's the reason why also we do usually the tikkun inside. We don't do it. We don't do the tikkun in the sukkah. Some people will do the tikkun in the sukkah, but a lot of people they do it inside. Why? They can't. They can't start concentrating properly when it's not done. You understand? Amar Abaye. Abaye says, Amra li em. Right, sorry. I amra li em kariv kutcha lo tnai. He says, if my mother, remember Abaye, his parents died young, so it was like the one that brought him up. Okay, stepmother, right? So it says, right, if my stepmother would have come and done this for me, kemo baksha kariv kutcha, right, like just like bring me the cottage cheese type of it's like a sour cream, lo tnai, right? I wouldn't have been able to learn. Right? Why? Because even something which is so small in my something which I would say is insignificant, for him it was important so that way he would be able to learn. Amar Rava says, Ikarat san kina, right, lo tanai. If a kina would have come and would have bitten me, also I wouldn't have been able to learn. The same thing. So his mother used to put him 7 clothing for the 7 days in order that he could change clothing every single day, so that way they wouldn't have any types of lice that would come and bite him, so he would have complete concentration. Okay? So Amar Rav Yehuda says, Lo ibre leila ela l'shinta. The nighttime was only created in order to sleep. Amar Rabbi Shimon Lakish says, Rabbi Shimon Lakish, Lo ibre siyar ela girsa. The order Levana was created to learn Torah. Meaning, why was the moon created? In order that you could learn. Because if not, just have complete darkness and that's it. Amni le Rabbi Zera, they told Rabbi Zera, Nechadedan shmatech, right? That your shmuot, your teachings are so precise. That means you're so expert. You have such an expertise in your learnings. Amalu, he says, the imamaninu. That's because I learned it during the day, right? And not during the nighttime when I was very, very tired. Meaning when a person is going to come and learn well during the day, so that's why he's got a clear head and he's able to learn properly. Amra leberate de Rav Chasta, the daughters of Rav Chasta told Rav Chasta, right? This is very famous, the daughters of Rav Chasta. If you remember, we had them already a few times. Lo ba'em mor mine menam purta, right? You don't want to just sleep a little bit at nighttime. Amala, so Rav Chasta told his daughter, he says there's going to come a day which they're going to be very long, and then they're going to be very short from learning Torah mitzvot. And then I could sleep a lot. However, though, right, even there's no time to sleep. What does that mean? So here he's saying that he's talking about whether it is during the times of Tammuz, where you have long, right, in the summer times, where they have a long months, right? And then they told him to sleep a little bit, right? Therefore he went and he said, no, there's going to come a time that I could sleep more during the winter time, right? However, though, he comes and he says, he says, we learn Torah, we actually work, right? The Ikar Zman of Limud Torah is during the day. Rav Acha bar Yaakov, he used to actually learn during the day, right? However, though, Yazifu Farah, he used to borrow and then he used to pay back, which means sometimes there's a concept that if a person cannot learn at a certain time and that he usually learns, he would be able to borrow that time, but he's obligated to pay it back. And then there's a whole question, what does he have to pay back in the same day, not the same day? There's a lot of questions about that. It's actually brought down in Shulchan Aruch even, right? In Ilchot Talmud Torah, okay? Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, Haba min haderech al yitpalel shlosha yamim. If a person is going to come from the path, he shouldn't pray for 3 days. Okay? Okay, there's a whole thing here about exactly what does this mean for 3 days, right? Why? Because remember that they used to travel by foot. So since they used to travel on foot, it wasn't like nowadays that you're traveling, whether it is with a car or things like that. It was much more tedious.
Caravan.
Yeah, it was like very, very tedious. You know, per people, they were gone.
Out.
Yeah? She'emar, but it says in a pasuk, "V'kabetzem el nar haba la'ava v'nachva sham yamim shlosha ve'avinu ba'am v'kohanim ne'levim matzati sham," which means that Ezra, he wasn't able to ponder correctly, right, who was going with him for 3 days. Right? The same thing with tefillah. So he wouldn't pray. The father of Shmuel wouldn't pray for 3 days. Shmuel would not pray in a house where they had shechar, because the smell of the liquor, right, would come and start, you know, even make him drunk. It was a powerful liquor. Yeah, even the smell would already make him, it would already make him a high. Okay?
And I can't pray in a shul where people are talking around like it's the living room. It distracts me.
100%, you're right.
Although I should control myself.
100%. Tolerance, Richard, that's the key word.
It's very difficult.
The key word in life is tolerance. If we wouldn't have tolerance, we wouldn't be able to survive. Yeah, Rav Papa lo matzli b'veit adid be'ahisana. So Rav Papa would not pray in a house where they had dagim tuganim. Right, imagine the sharmila. You can't, just the smell of the good fried fish. You can't. You can't concentrate. How are you going to concentrate? Somebody once told me that. They said the opposite. They came into the Bet Knesset, they smelled the good kiddush, like, Gan Eden. Yeah, now we could pray. Why? Was we know what's coming forth. We know what's coming forward. Yeah? But listen, that's all. We have to remember, though, what's the ikar. Some people make the ikar the kiddush and not the Bet Knesset. It's the tafel. You understand? That's the secondary. You understand? As long as you have a good tefillah, now it's worth it. Now you could come and you could have a good kiddush. You understand? But fine. And then it says, Amar B'chanina, says B'chanina, Kol hamitpateh b'yeno, yesh bo midat kono. Somebody that's cool, that wants to be appeased, right? Because his heart is good in wine, so then he's got like dat kono. He's got like the midot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shneimar, it says in Pasuk, Vayarach Hashem et reach hanichoach, which means after Noach came out of the teva, he came and he started bringing sacrifices of the animals, right? Because he actually made a kavachomer. He said to himself, why is it the non-kosher animals, you had a male and a female, and by the kosher animals, you had the 7 animals? So he said, obviously, it's to bring sacrifices. So he went and he brought a sacrifice, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu smelled the pleasant fragrance, and then he went and he made the vow that he will never come and destroy the world again. He made the rainbow and all those things. So the question was, right? So therefore, if a person comes and he gets all jolly, and now all of a sudden somebody comes to him and he says, listen, I'm sorry, selicha, mechila, I asked for forgiveness, I did this and this wrong. So then he has that kono. He's got, right, the same attributes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Amar B'chia says, B'chia, kol hamityashev b'yeno, right, yesh bo dat. Somebody that's not going to be mitbalbel after drinking a little bit of wine, he's got that. Shivim zekenim, right, yain nitan b'shivim otiyot. Why? Because the shivim zekenim, right, the wine, right, the yain, nitan b'shivim otiyot, were given with 70 letters.
Sounds a little bit like a stira from what we said earlier a little bit. Now they're saying a little wine is good.
Exactly.
Just a little.
Just a little bit. Right? The sword nitan b'shivim otiyot. And the secrets of the Torah were also given with 70, right?
No, that's when you drink, you start spilling your...
One minute.
Wait a second.
1 minute. Right? He says sword was given with 70 letters. He says, why? Because we actually know, by the way, you should know, according to the Kabbalah, you're always supposed to have a cup of wine. Right? You should know every single day, a cup of wine. Okay? This is a very famous concept. Fine, but now it says, what does that mean? Right? He says, right, yain is connected sod. Why? Because nichnas yain yatsa sod. Because when a person drinks wine, so then the sod comes out of it. Okay? So he says, what happens is, so here it says, however, though, a person that still stays, right, how do you say it? When a person still drinks, but he still stays sober? That's the word? He still says that he's still, and the secrets do not come out. So therefore, it's still going to be 70, which means that's why he's going to be like the 70 zekenim. So Amri Bichanin, it says Bichanin, the entire concept of wine was created in order to be Menachem Avelim, in order to console the Avelim, the people and the mourners, or the Shalem Sachar L'Reshaim, to give the reward for their shame in this world. Shneimar Tenu Shecha Lo'oved, right? V'yayin L'manei nefesh, right? Which means that you're going to give, right? Yayin L'manei nefesh, which means you're going to give wine to the people which are bitter hearts. Okay, which means Oved Ainu Rasha, Shoved Berisho, Manei nefesh or Avelim. Amar Bichanin Bar Papa, says Bichanin Bar Papa. Okay, Kol Shen Yain Nishpach Betoch Kamayim, Eno Bichlal Beracha. Anybody that wine is not spilled in their houses like water, so it's not considered part of the beracha. Just like bread, you could purchase it with money of Masechta. Remember, Masechta is on the years. Richard?
Sure.
Masechta is in which years?
I don't know, 3 and 5?
No, 3 and 6 is Maserani. Poor bread, the poor. Masechta is 1, 2, 4, 5. Okay, 1, 2, 4, 5. Just like Masechta, you have 1, 2, 4, 5. Af mine, so too, right? The water, which means in the years of Shemitah, the 7th year, there's no Maaser at all. There's nothing grew. However, though, right, on years 1, 2, 4, 5, you take off Maaser Sheni, and years 3, 6, you take off Maaser Ani. Remember, that's only after you already took off the other Maasrot. When you have a field, you first take off Truma Gdolah. After Truma Gdolah, that goes to the Kohen, right? After the Truma Gdolah, you take Maaser Rishon, which goes to the Levi, 10%. The Levi takes off 10% of what he received, which is Truma Maaser, and he gives to the Kohen. Then you take off an additional 10% on years 1, 2, 4, 5, right? You come and you take that and you take it directly to Jerusalem, to Yerushalayim, and you eat it inside the walls of Yerushalayim, or you're allowed to redeem it at a fifth. You take the money to Yerushalayim and then you spend it on food and you're able to eat it there in Yerushalayim. Okay, so too water, you're allowed to buy with Kesem Maaser Sheni. Remind you, what is it? Yain, wine. And it's called water. In order to teach us, right? If it's going to be spilled in your house like water,
But not regular
right?
water. You can't
Not
buy
like regular water. 1 second, right? Ika bracha, then you have bracha. And if not, then you don't have bracha. Samechem ubet, 65b. By the way, you should know from here, they actually learn the concept of the Havdalah. A lot of people will come and they'll pour Havdalah and purposely pour a little bit more so that way it spills over. And why do they have it spill over? It's brought down on the halacha, this halacha. Because any house that does not have wine spilled over, it does not have a bracha. So we want bracha during the time of Havdalah, so therefore they come.
Lubavitchers are machmir with that, by the way.
Not only Lubavitchers, it's a Ramah.
He spills over all the time.
It's a Ramah. What do you have to Lubavitchers? It's a Ramah.
I'm just saying.
You're Ashkenazi.
Do you-
the Ramah.
do you
Ramah
spill
does
over?
it.
You spill over?
Only for Abdallah, but not for
For Havdalah.
Kiddush.
For Havdalah. You're talking about Kiddush, you're talking about?
Yeah.
Well, everything.
Everything. Okay, no, we're talking about Havdalah. Fine.
They do it for Kiddush.
For Kiddush. Okay. I'm going to be lie. Says to be lie.
Very
On
famous,
3
very famous.
things, a person is going to be nikar. He's going to be recognizable. Bekoso, with his cup. Bekiso, with his pocket. Ka'aso, right? And how angry does he get? How makpid is he going to get? Ve'amnila, and some people say also, afesachako, right? That also with how he laughs. Because when you're going to have people, if they're going to laugh too much, that they make them a fool out of themselves. So therefore, that's also going to be another one. So there's 4 things or 3, depends, 3 or 4 things. Some people add on the 4th thing. Okay? By the way, there's a lot of musad here that you could go on for like mamash, a lot of different things here. If you look in the footnote, it says it. There's a lot of different things. Fine. Okay, next. Amar of Yehuda Amar Rav. Says of Yehuda Amar Rav. Remember, we're in 65b. Samechem Ul Bet. Okay, Amar of Yehuda Amar Rav. Yisrael v'nochri b'pnimit, Yisrael b'chitzonah. So I'm going to share the screen with you. So we the picture. Here's a picture. Everybody can see the picture?
Yes.
Very good. So this is Yisrael v'nochri b'pnimit, Yisrael b'chitzonah. Okay, look. Okay, Yisrael v'nochri b'pnimit. You can see the picture, John Jay?
Yes.
Yeah? Here, this is the inner courtyard. The inner courtyard, you have a Jew and a Goy in the inner courtyard. And in the outer courtyard, you have a Jew. Okay, in the outer courtyard. And then this is the public domain. Okay? So it says over here, Bama Selifne Rebbe. So the question is, right now, the people of the inner courtyard, they're able to go through the outer courtyard. Okay, so Bama Selifne Rebbe, this came in from Rebbe. Be'asar, so he said that the outer courtyard cannot be metaltel unless he's going to rent out, right, from the Goy, his property. Be'lifne Rebbe Chia be'asar, also in front of Rebbe Chia, and he said that it was going to be asur. Okay? Now the next one says, Yativ Rabba Rav Yosef Shili Pirke Rav Shashat. So Rabba Rav Yosef were sitting down right after the Drash of Rav Shashat. Yativ Rav Shashat v'Kama, and he said, Keman Amra Rav Lishmate. Who does Rav go like? Obviously, like Rabbi Meir, right? Because he's the first son of our Mishnah that he says that even a Yisrael by himself with a goy, right? It's a asur for him to be mitaltel. So Rabba actually said yes, like he was agreeing to it. Okay? So Amar of Yosef says, Yosef, Tre Gavre Rav Reve Kerabanan, right? Can it be two great rabbis, Rav Sheshat and Rabba, Litu Be'ayminta, did they mean such a mistake? Ikra B'Meir, if you're going to tell me it's a B'Meir, so Lama Yisrael B'Chatzina, what do I care about the Jew in the outer courtyard? This picture, if everyone could see my cursor, right? This outer courtyard, the Jew living there, get rid of him. You don't need him. And then you have the same exact case. Why do I need this case? If you're going to tell me that was a story, that's just what happened. They asked from Rav, what about the inner one? Amalen Mutar, he says it's permitted. So over here, which is the inner one, it's going to be permitted. Okay? Velamai, but rather what? It has to be going like Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov. Okay? Ha'amar, he said, right? Until you have two Jews over here, it's going to be prohibited. Here, you don't have two Jews, right? You only have one Jew, but there's one Jew on the inner, one Jew on the outer. So what's going on? Ella, but rather, Rabbi Akiva, it has to be going like Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva says, Rabbi Akiva comes and he says, even if it's going to be permitted for him to be mitatel in his own chatzer, it's going to prohibit in another chatzer, another courtyard. And therefore here, since this is only one Jew with the one goy, it's permitted for him to be mitaltel in his own courtyard. But once it goes into the second courtyard, since now you have two Jews here and the goy that's able to use the outer courtyard, now it's going to prohibit it. So says the Gemara, so why do I need the goy even? Forget about the goy, the fact that I have an inner courtyard with a Jew and an outer courtyard with a Jew, that's also going to prohibit it. So really what we're talking about, let me see if there's another picture here. Leolam really be'emet, it's like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov or Rabbi Akiva, like Rabbi Akiva. Okay, when you tell them about Bekigon Shirvu, for example, they made an Eruv. Tama di kanochi yasid. The only reason is there's a Jew that he's saying it's a sur. Avalin lekal nochli lo asib. If there's no go, if there's not going to be a, as long as there's going to be a goy, it's going to make it a sur. But if there's no goy, it's not going to become a sur. Okay, so Bami name Rabbi Elazar. Now this is the next case. This is the next picture that I have here. Bami name Rabbi Elazar mirav. Yisrael v'nochri v'chitzonav. Yisrael v'primim ma'u. Here you have the opposite case. Yisrael v'nochri. Yeah, Yisrael v'nochri in the outer one. This is the outer courtyard. You have the Jew and the goy, and then you only have a Jew in the inner courtyard. What's halacha? Okay, hatam over there, tamam mishum. Over there, the reasoning is because the shchiach dai. At the end of the day, is it only in the first case where the goy was always going to be in the inner courtyard, so it's going to prohibit, right? Even in the outer courtyard. So he says the mirtat nochri, because the nochri is going to be afraid, right? V'savar, and he could say hashtat Yisrael v'amarli Yisrael davagabachecha. Where's the other Jew? Yeah, which means he's afraid of doing anything, because what's going to happen is that the Jew will come to the goy, which is in the inner courtyard, and tell him, where's the other Jew that he was here? What did you do? So he's always afraid. Avalahacha, but in such a case, Amina lei, right? He could say, Nafak azale, right? My outer one, he went outside. What do you want? Which means that the goy could come, he could do whatever he wants to the other Jew, and right? And then you could just say, the guy left. Right? In the other case, how did the guy leave? I didn't see him. What happened? So all of a sudden, he's going to be afraid. But here, you could just say, the guy left. Or Dima, we're going to say, we're going to say, he's still afraid. To Savar, but he's going to hold. Maybe a Jew will come and he's going to see what I'm doing. Because anything that I'm going to do, all of a sudden, the Jew will come out.
The Jew who lives in the inner.
Yeah, the Jew that lives in the inner is going to come out and he's going to see what I'm doing. So he's going to catch me red-handed. So I'm not going to do anything. Yeah? So says the Gemara, Amalei, he answered him, Ten lechacham yechkam od, which means, right, that it's going to be a sur in both cases. Right? You have to give chokhmah and you will become wiser. Meaning sometimes all you have to do is you teach somebody the trick and then they continue with the wisdom to continue going. So the same thing. Give to a chacham and he will become wiser. Okay? Fine. Next. Right now we're talking about schirat reshut from the goy. Okay? Resh Lakish v'Talmidei Rabbi Chanina iklalu pundak. So Resh Lakish and Rabbi Chanina, they went to a certain pundak, okay, to an inn. This is this picture. Look, this picture, it's pundak, okay? So, yeah.
What is that?
A pundak is like a hotel,
Okay.
okay? Like an inn. So it says, this is a pundak. This is the inn, okay? So now, velo hava socher, v'hava maskid, right? So the socher was not there, but the maskid was there. Okay, so here you have a Jew, dira schura, which was basically a rented apartment or a rented place from the goy. Okay, so this is the goy, Jew. Okay, this is the inn. So it says, they said, Maleg nigmar mine. Are we allowed to rent out the place from the goy in order to carry in this big courtyard on Shabbat or not? So now they tried to explain the question. If they could not get rid of him, okay, obviously there's no safek, right? Delo agirna. What does it mean, delo agirna? Which means that for sure, right, you cannot purchase the reshut from the maskid, okay? Kitibaya, when is it the safek? If you could get rid of him beforehand, okay? What's halacha? Kevin dematzi misalek, since you could get rid of him, agirna, so then we should just rent out his property, or dilmar maybe hashtamia lo salke. You can't do it, right? Why? Because he's not here. So since he's not around and you can't rent it out from him, so you just can't do it. So Amar le Resh Lakish says Resh Lakish niskor. You could rent it out, right, from the maskid, from the renter. But when we get to the Rabboteinu in the south, we're going to ask them. So Atu Shali le Rabbi Yafes. They went and they asked Rabbi Yafes. Amar le, he says it's good that you did. So what can you do? You could actually rent it out from the renter, from the maskid, which was from the one that's renting it out, not the one that's renting it.
Even though the landlord couldn't evict him.
Exactly. Even though the landlord could not evict him. Exactly. And even though he's not there. Okay? Rabbi Chanina bar Yosef, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yassi, Yikla lehu pundak. So Rabbi Chanina bar Yosef, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yassi went to a pundak. That the Nochri mared did pundak b'Shabbata. That the goy, the Nochri, that he was the owner, right? And he also used to live there. He got there in the middle of Shabbat. So since he got there in the middle of Shabbat, now he prohibited on them, and now they can't carry. They said, can we rent it out from him or not on Shabbat itself or not? So, socher do we say that if you rent it out, it's like you made an eruv right now? Just like if you have to make an eruv, you have to do it during the day, you can't do it on Shabbat. So to socher mibodium, so to when you rent it out from him during the day and on Shabbat, or dilma, or maybe socher, or maybe when you rent it out from him, it's like he's mivatel his reshut. It's not like you're making an eruv, and that's permitted. You're annulling your property, and you're allowed to do that on Shabbat.
Good question.
You're allowed to do that or not. So Rabbi Chanina Rabbi Yosef niskor. Chanina Rabbi Yosef said, let's rent it out from him. Rabbi Yassi Amar lo niskor. Rabbi Yassi said not to. Amar lo Rabbi Chia bar Abba said to them, Rabbi Chia bar Abba, nismoch al divrei zaken v'niskor. We're going to rely upon the elder, and we're going to Rabbi Chanina ben Yosef. Yes, we go by the elders. Yes, on Eiruvin. Okay. Afterwards, they came and they asked Rabbi Yochanan. Amar lehen, and he told them.
Oh, very nice.
He told them, Samech Vav Amud Aleph, 66A1, Yafeh asitem shesechartem. It's good what you did. Okay? Bezrat Hashem, we continue tomorrow.
You couldn't.